Yeah, I've kind of always been making music since I was like a really little child, because there was a piano at my parents' place at that time, and I got lessons. I think when I was about 6 or 7 or something, and I started making electronic music when I was 12 or 13 probably. That's when I got my first keyboard. And in the beginning, I tried to copy certain things that I liked, and I didn't really have any idea what my own sound should be like, I'd say. And I tried different genres as well, like I did drum and bass for a couple of years. But I was always a bit unhappy because some of these genres are quite restrictive, like especially all the dancey electronic genres. And people always used to tell me that like musically it's nice, but DJs couldn't play it, and therefore it's useless or whatever. And took me a couple of years then to make that final step and kind of liberate me from all these kind of genre things, and just to do what I wanted to do. In a city like Berlin, there is a certain amount of pressure, and from the scene, or the people that are there trying to push things into a certain direction, and only allowing even a limited amount of music styles. And I mean, I wasn't really trying to be trendy. I wouldn't say that. I just didn't have the confidence to do anything that I was quite aware of wouldn't fit in with the local scene, and that was the thing. So. Yeah, I grew up in a small town at the Baltic Sea, close to Denmark. It's called Kiel, and yeah, I mean, it's in Germany. I generally say that at a certain point, if you try to do music, you don't really have the choice. You have to go to Berlin or probably Cologne, but that's pretty much about it. I mean, in all the other cities, there's not really any sort of professional music scene or industry there, and it's even harder than it is in these other cities to make a living out of music. And so the decision was a pretty obvious one, I'd say, right from the start. I mean, I was always I always knew that I wouldn't be able to stay in Kiel for the rest of my life, and I didn't want to as well, so that wasn't a problem. Faraway Trains was pretty much of a compromise record in a way. I mean, I knew that I was with CCO, I would be much more free to do what I wanted to do, but on the other hand, I was always a bit careful. I didn't want to make it too shoegazy or too indie, to make it to kind of make peace with the Berlin electronic scene and not getting slagged off too harsh or whatever. And Isolated Place was obviously, I think, like some kind of an emancipation record, where I just finally thought, okay, the first record went well, now I've got the freedom to do basically what I want to do, and that's just what I did in the end. At the moment, I still think the way I play the stuff live is more or less a compromise. I mean, I mainly do that because it's nice to listen to the stuff on a loud PA, and I think it's also important to tour with this kind of music, because not a lot of electronic artists do it. But on the other hand, I have to say that I'm not entirely satisfied with the way it's going, because the setup is quite simple, and only a smaller amount of it is actually live. So I'm playing backing tracks from the computer and keyboard things on top, and because I'm just one person, I can obviously only play a limited amount of tracks live. And for the future, I want to do the live stuff together with Judith, who sang on Isolated Place a bit already, and on the next album we'll have a lot of more of her vocals on it. And for the live thing, we're also planning that she plays a couple of guitar things to it, and I'm working on an added visual element at the moment as well, with a visuals person from Bristol, Adam that whose work I really like. there's one mistake that I wouldn't want to do, and that is, I think, a lot of electronic acts at a certain level of success or public recognition, they form like a random band, get in some session musicians, and just replay their stuff with a normal band setup. And I think sometimes that robs the identity of these projects a bit, because I mean, our music as electronic musicians is very depending on the way how things sound. It's not just about the songwriting, it's also about the sound. And if you kind of retranslate the stuff straight away without doing anything specific into a band context, I think it loses a lot of its integrity. So what I would try to do is more like set up an electronic based setup, probably, yeah, as I said, with Judith singing and playing a couple of guitar things, and probably another person, and I'm still looking for the right person to do that, who would also play synthesizers and work with the computer, and then trying to get into a situation where you could do more improvised things. I mean, I always really liked how Tangerine Dream played their stuff in the 70s, or the Orb in the 90s, where you'd have like every gig sounding different to the other, and you'd have a constant flow of ideas. And I just think that you would have to try to translate that concept into a 2005 or 2006 whatever context, and I think that's a pretty tough thing to do. So I don't know if I ever get to the stage where I'll be able to do that, but I think it'll definitely be worth a try, because I think a lot of the electronic music performances you see these days are quite compromised in a way, and it would be nice to find ways which would work better.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.